Are we live? Are we live? I'm just kidding. We're not live, actually. I am streaming with a 3-minute delay as always during a poker session because I'm showing you my whole cards and I don't want to show you my whole cards when I'm actually playing the hand. I'll show you my whole cards a little bit after I play the hand. I've already had the very unpleasant experience of playing on a stream and having someone allegedly stream snipe. I played at Stones during Postlegate. So that's a whole thing. That was a lot of fun. I definitely had a couple pots stolen from me, whether or not there was actual cheating going on or just standard poker highway robbery. Well, I guess one can decide what they think about that. Anyway, welcome to day 15, the beginning of week 3 of ZenMadman's Nutty Pot Limit Omaha journey. So far, so good. I'm going to call this. I have a pair. I have a bunch of middle cards. There's connectivity. There's a suit. I will mark this and review at the end of the session. I totally whiffed the flop, except, I have a gut shot to the underside of the straight, facing a pot-sized bet. That combined with my pair of nines and backdoor flush draw are not going to cut it. So we'll mark this after. So week 3, the first 2 weeks I'd say have been successful, not like beyond my wildest dreams successful, but solid. Pre-flop, and then we'll fold this hand as this hand is garbage. I've gotten some new followers on Twitch. We're made about half of the progress towards being an affiliate from where I was when I started the daily streams again. And I think getting there will be very satisfying as I don't know whether Twitch is like the main thing I want to do. I'm going to shift a little bit more attention towards YouTube as well. There's a different feel between streaming live and, I guess I'm not streaming live. I already said that, right? I have a 3-minute delay, but between streaming and producing videos. The thing about streaming is I feel like I can hold myself accountable a little easier because I know, it's like having an appointment. Whereas YouTube's a little bit just more on me to create the content. And I will be... my new habit, it's week 3, so it's time for a new habit. Week 2's habit ended up being nightly journaling and disconnecting from computers, which I did every day except for one. I did the journaling every day, but one day I did watch The Bad Batch, then podcast on it after midnight after I'd done the journaling. That's okay. I think the habit's still becoming a habit nonetheless. I really enjoyed journaling by hand as it's just a different experience to typing. It feels more permanent. It is, right? And it feels, I feel like I'm engaging with my thoughts a little more, like I'm trying to codify them more than just kind of like spew them out. I think both can be effective. So, try one, try another, find what works for you. But I find it to be a very therapeutic habit and helps me kind of close the day. This hand, 10s with a 3 and a 5 and a suit, I felt didn't require that much commentary. 10s are nice, a suit's nice, the 3 and the 5 being connected is nice, but none of that is really like cold call a raise from the low jack while on the button nice. It's just not going to be a whole lot of flops that I'm going to be really stoked to get lots of chips in on the middle. I've been rewatching PLO Launchpad, and thus I'm saying stoked more often. Hopefully we'll have some opportunities to bring the ruckus in this session. Well, it wasn't a boring hand anyway. Nuts. The nuts are good. It's pretty much the hand that made sense. They could have had 3 ace, they could have had the ace of clubs without another club. That would have made some sense. I think 3 queens with a 9, yes. We just saw them have 3 aces with a 4. Oh. Flop the nut straight seems... Oh, you folded. Never mind. Let's see. Which hand was that? Which hand? It must have been this one? What was the flop? No. Oh, I don't know. Um, yes. All right. So, yeah, trips, they did win the last hand. Three aces is a much better hand than three anything else, right? It's like playable. And it can in fact be quite strong because, if you have one of them suited, you can make that nut flush. Aces are the pair that, are most likely to win without improvement. Pocket fours with a suited ace and a jack, I think might be close. I am going to raise this. I think yesterday I discovered that ace 10 deuce deuce with a suited ace is a raise from this position. Ergo, ipso factor, ipso factor, okay. Basically, this is a little better than that, so I feel it should be a hand that we raise. This board is just not in my zip code. I could rep it. I do have a jack. That's nice. I am blocking some spade draws. Uh, yeah, it's like I could try to bluff it. And then here on the river, I have no diamonds. If I had a diamond blocker, be a little bit more inclined to bluff. I'm going to just keep on giving up, but I do think it would have been pretty reasonable to put a bet out there. Not only did they have a pair of tens, they also turned to the low end of the straight. So I don't think my bluff was getting through. Of course, that's not how we should evaluate whether or not I should bluff. But seeing that somebody is checking, the bottom straight, maybe on the river my bluff can get through. And again, if I had a diamond, I'd be a little bit more likely to turn that into a bluff. I think, looking for good blockers is kind of an intuitive way of balancing our bluffing versus not bluffing. Like we see an opportunity that looks like it might be a good exploitative bluffing spot. If we take those every time, we're probably going to be bluffing too much. And so if we just say, oh, do I have any good blockers to go with that, right? We're not going to... Okay, let's see. Bottom set, plus I have a flush draw, blocking some straight business. I can check raise, I can check call, I can bet out. With these players, I think I'm going to go ahead and go for a check raise. Bottom set isn't like the absolute most, it's not the nuttiest hand, but the fact that I have a flush draw with it. This player we saw earlier had the triple aces with the suit. What does that tell us? Not a whole lot. Now that they're betting full pot, I almost don't want to bloat this pot out of position with, like if they made a smaller bet, if they bet half pot, I think I would check pot it here. But I'm actually just going to check call. This hand has very robust equity. Yes, they can make a straight on a card like that, which is unfortunate, but I've got tons of outs against a straight. I am blocking the straight as well. If they have a hand like 9-9 or Jack-Jack, this card might slow them down. I expect to see a pot size bet here quite frequently. What kind of bad influence friend is convincing you to watch a late... Okay, hold on. We'll get back to that. We have a hand at hand. I'm going to bet. I'm trying to get value from like Jack-9, maybe some King X kind of two-pair business or hearts with a king. So they did have a set. The turn did slow them down. And I went for the kind of thin value bet on the river. And I think I could have lost a lot more money with that hand. I'm going to click it for review. I think it's fairly interesting. Yesterday I did play a hand where I got all in with... what did I get all in with? I got all in with middle set on a very dry board in a limped pot. And I got all my chips in bad. I had a backdoor flush draw and I banked the backdoor flush. They flopped top set with no redraw really. And I ended up winning, but I got it in really bad. And, that's kind of the best kind of hand where you can... I believe I made a mistake in the hand because it had been a limped pot. We had an SPR of like 20-something. So... it was a hand where I made a mistake. I realized it was a mistake, and thus I've learned from the mistake. In this hand, I think I played better because of it. And the mistake didn't cost me any money because I got lucky and made the backdoor flush. And if you're going to make a mistake, like here, if I was going to get it in with set under set, I did have the flush draw, the immediate flush draw. So it's going to be a lot harder for me to just be crushed, right? I probably had 30 some odd % equity in that hand. Let's see. On the flop, I had 33% equity, right? So that's pretty good for being set under set. Did I tag that? I did tag that. We can talk about it later. Forgot there was a delay. Yeah, oh, so the first hand I played, what was the first hand I played? It's too late, it's gone. It's gone to the sands of time. I don't know if I streamed the first hand I played. No. Um, hmm. There it is. No. All right. Anyway, uh, let's get back to the chat. The Ethical Panda writes, what kind of bad influence friend is convincing you to watch a late night Star Wars cartoon when you're doing all the self-betterment introspection stuff? In fairness, I don't think I had, well, first of all, this one, but I don't think it's particularly bad influence. I hadn't really mentioned that I was, um, kind of shutting things down at that time. I do enjoy a good late night stream. Ace King 99. This feels close. Like maybe it's a raise, but I'm playing raise fold here, and as a result, I'm going to end up folding some hands that maybe before I would have overlimped. Here, we have this limper. If I had one suit, slam dunk raise. But, the nines don't have the best interplay with the ace king. It's basically two separate hands, ace king and 9-9, because if we flop the queen, if we get the queen 10 jack, where the king 9 would make a straight, ace king makes a straight anyway, so there's some redundancy there. But yeah, I hadn't really said a whole lot about my late night journaling habits. So, my schedule is an ever evolving thing that is often very particular, but a lot of times isn't, and it changes. It's been pretty consistent for the last 2 weeks. I've woken up between, say, 8 and 9, give or take, basically every day, done my morning routine, which has been fairly consistent in terms of every day I do my 5 minutes of meditation, I drink my smoothie, I do these chi exercises, and I just move around basically. And then, what else do I do? I guess I do my Duolingo every day, but not necessarily in the morning. Then I get set up for my stream, try to do a little poker warm-up. Today was a little tougher in terms of finding anything resembling peace because, it's, I don't know, there's a lot of other stuff going on. So I won't bring that into the stream, but I will mention that, sometimes there's stuff going on outside that's just, maybe you shouldn't ignore it, maybe you can't ignore it. There's, that's, it's life. Life's life. Here, this flop would have been kind of interesting insofar as I have a pair and then a bunch of backdoors. Of course, I don't have a flush because I can't use all 5 spades in my hand. But all the backdoor straights, I think, are non-nuts, except for the 9 and the 7. I guess Jack 8 would be the nuts there. Let's see. When you review that hand with set of 6s, would you have folded the river if they raised your bet? Yes. I'll go over that in the review. I guess yes, probably. Okay. Ace 7 with a pair of 6s, suited ace. I think I'm going to go ahead and raise this. Now, in general, I'm going to take my hijack standards, and when the low jack limps, I'm going to use the low jack standards. However, this player is limping 100% so far, so I might not tighten up quite as much. And, yeah, so I think that this is a little... Yeah, so they limp folded, so that's interesting. So that means I can take some pots down with the raise even when they limp. This board it's a big nothing of a board. If I had some flush cards, basically, even without a direct flush draw, I would be much more inclined to throw a bet out there, even though I still might not do it 3 ways. The 7 is very close to being a very helpful card, but it's not really. I mean, now I have ace 7 instead of 6-6, but that's not... it's a good card insofar as it's not a bad card. And I'm just going to check it down, and I might win here sometimes. This, again, is a spot where, maybe I can go ahead and bluff. But, first of all, I have a little bit of showdown value that might be good. And second of all, I guess the 7 qualifies as a blocker. I'm blocking, queen 7, I guess. I think I can just fold here, and I should top off, which I haven't been doing. Yeah, so that hand also I'll tag for pre-flop. And ace queen 10-7. Technically they call this bad suit, but it's suited to the ace. I think it's a pretty clear open raise. Having that one extra card of suit is unfortunate. I can't make a royal flush. Oh no. But I can make the nuts a lot of ways with this hand, and I can flop strong a lot of ways with this hand. So it's really a generally pretty strong that way. Having the third of the suit now to maybe is like, it's not the thing that was going to swing me from an open to a fold, from a raise to a fold, but I do think from calling this 3-bet to folding. However, now we're getting now we're getting amazing pot odds. I'm gonna have bad relative position. The stack to pot ratio is gonna be like 1, so I'm just gonna have to rip it on a lot of flops. But the pot odds are calling, right? I've got 5-1 here. Is that correct? 5-1, almost. That feels like too good to turn down. So I think I'm just gonna have to gamble here. And I flop top pair, good kicker. I have 1 spade blocker. Like, I'm tempted to just jam here, given that the stack to pot ratio is like 1. But I don't think that's the play. The razor, 3-better. That 3's a pretty good card. Somebody can have a 3, but I don't think it's super likely. Let's see, what's this player? This player's the most likely to have a 3. I do think I can bet. Do I want to bet small, or do I want to kind of jam? In position, I think if they had top set of aces on a flush drawy board, they would just go ahead and put it in. If they had ace king, they might be playing that. I'm going to just put the chips in because we're basically so close to being all in already. It's a stack to pot ratio of 1. If we had a lot more chips behind, I'd be playing this much more cautiously. I might make a small bet, or I might even check. But the stack to pot ratio here makes me feel just like if somebody has a flush draw and they want to come along for all the chips, they're welcome to. But I felt like my hand was quite likely the best there. And we'll hit review on that. Pre-flop we want to take a look at, but that is more of a post-flop hand. And yeah, so that felt like a stressful situation. Again, it's not super high stakes. It's certainly not that high compared to like the highest stakes I've played. But I think it's these the things that I find most stressful as a poker player are situations that are high leverage compared to the average situation involved in a game, but also where I think I find it particularly stressful when I feel like I might be doing something that's just catastrophically bad, and I have a high level of uncertainty in terms of like what's the right play. Right, like I can just be getting it in with 0 equity there. If somebody has ace-ace or 3-3 or, actually even 5-5, right? Any boat. I have no boat draw. So I flopped bottom 2 pair and an undergutter, and the only flush draw that's not available for the back door is mine. This is kind of a classic Omaha, like my hand's not really good. Interesting min raise by the player on my right. I think it makes a lot of sense because... All right, and they got unlucky, but I think their flop play made a lot of sense. They're basically just trying to get heads up with the player behind them. Having said that, like if I came over the top, I guess they're going to fold the second nut straight, except maybe not because they're playing 100% of hands, and, maybe they like to see a lot of turns and rivers. Perhaps you mean something about a senator from a coal mining state. Oh. I don't, but... that is always upsetting. Yeah, so, I mean, I actually haven't been super politically tuned in recently. I can kind of only follow politics in cycles because I just get so angry. The world isn't very much at all close to how I would like it to be. No, it's more, family drama type stuff, but I'm sure there's some terrible news about some senator from a coal mining state. Coal mining somehow still being a thing. Okay, King 6-4 deuce, double suited. I wouldn't open this from the cutoff. I'm not even sure I open this from the button. I mean, it's not, this isn't a good hand. I do want to see whether this is an open race from the button. There's connectivity. I'm going to say it's probably not, because the deuce is generally just a terrible card. We don't play a lot of hands with a deuce. And then not a lot of hands suited, you know, King 6. But double suited, we play a lot of our double suited hands. And this has connectivity, and it has a king high suit. So, you know, this board would be kind of a classic example of looking at it and being like, oh, that looks like we have, no, it's not, I mean, our two pair, maybe, nope, two pair, no good. Flush draw apparently was live, but it was to the 6, so couldn't ever play it with any confidence. Let's see, we have a limp now, and we're going to get a second limp here, and then we're going to make it 5. Oh, they've tightened up. They're folding some hands now. I still am gonna mark both of these players as the greenness. I mean, I could even make them pink, but we'll just go green. And the reason I use green and then pink is not to cast aspersions on any particular affinities towards particular colors. It's the pink just pops out, and that's why I have the cards orange, right? So we've only got a 2-1 SPR here. I've got aces. I've got a backdoor straight draw. I'm pretty much just going to try to get the chips in. If I bet half pot here, there will be 20 in the middle, and then we'll have 15 left, and then I'll jam a good turn. This does not qualify as a good turn. So they bet $1. Okay, sure. Let's go for $1. I was going to check it back. My general philosophy is when somebody makes a min bet, that we treat it as if it's a check. So if they checked, I checked. They bet $1, I bet $1. Here, like, I'm super tempted to bet my aces for value. The question is there anything they're going to call with that doesn't beat me? Maybe I could bet like a couple bucks. If I had one heart in my hand, maybe that's going to be the difference. The 8 is blocking some of the combos they can call with. I think they're going to have something like 9-3 or some stuff. No, so a 7 high flush, right? So people, when they have those small flushes and they make them, sometimes they make those tiny bets, and then they reasonably check it, right? And if I'd had like the nut blocker, if I had what would it have been, the king of hearts? No, the ace of hearts, right? Yeah, because the flush came on the turn. So in that case, I mean, I could have bluffed. I could have turned my hand into a bluff, or I could have gone for a value bet. That would have been somewhat thin. Anyway, I feel fine with how I played the hand. I could have bet larger on the flop, right? I could have just potted it, and then I probably end up getting all the chips in one way or another. But I thought half pot and then jam for 3/4 pot on turn was a good line, and it was just a bad turn. And sometimes that happens. And even though aces are drawing dead against a flush, I think for $1, getting 20 to 1, basically, I don't think it makes sense to fold. All right, we have nut flush against queen high flush, and I guess, double paired board. Here's an interesting thing in Omaha is double paired boards, you should run into fewer full houses than single paired boards. It's the opposite of Hold'em, right? In Hold'em, when there's 2 pairs on the board, then somebody has 1 card of either rank. That's a boat. In PLO, that's not a boat. In PLO, they have to have 1 card of each, or 1 of one, and then 1 of the other, whatever the last card is on the board. I mean, they need, or 2 of that card. So that's just harder, right? They need 2 cards in their hand. And even though in general hand strengths are higher in Omaha, especially if there hasn't been a lot of action when the board first paired, when the board second pairs, I think you can actually get some value. Like with a nut flush, I would often bet it for value in that spot. Whereas on a single paired board, I might be less inclined to. I would be less inclined to. Might still do it on a single paired board, but context, details, all of these things always matter. All right, so we lost one of our friends. We still have the second one. That's cool. Game, the game's pretty good. The player behind me also has been um, fairly loose and totally passive. And then we have two players with like almost identical stats. So, maybe they've been reading the same books. Who knows? I expect they're mostly open raising when they come in first in, and I think most of the difference between their VPIP and their PFR is hands that they've been flatting. All right, double suited, no need to raise a hand like this. Okay, so now I have an open-ended straight draw, I have bottom pair, I have backdoor flush draw. I think I can wager, I'm going to wager 3/4 pot just to not bet the minimum $1, but I don't think I need to go any further than that. And now I'll just take a river. And so here the board, this is interesting, right? Because I lose to a jack, I lose to an 8, and I lose to a better 3. So I'm probably going to end up folding here. But again, like my 3 didn't get counterfeited. I have jacks and 3s with a 10. And if they have, ace, king, whatever, they don't have jacks and 8s with an ace. They have jacks, period. I'm going to fold. But, and like everything missed. And I'm not blocking hearts, so I could call as a bluff catch. I think that would have been a pretty reasonable option. And then we lost our friend on our left, too. Everybody's leaving us. It's so sad. It's so sad. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll keep an eye on the game quality. As long as the player on our right is here, it is a good game. Even if, some world-class players sit down, I don't care. I have a player playing 80% of their hands on my right. It's a good game. There's only so much that a good player can do to stop anyone from making money at a table, right? I think, especially with like 100 big blind stacks, honestly, the rake is going to do a better job of keeping you from winning money than like a world-class player. That's something I think a misconception a lot of people have in poker is there's like this fear of playing with players who are really good or whatever. And personally, I've always preferred to play at a table with like 1 or 2 really good players. And then I don't think I want to ISO this. It's suited to the 10, not to the jack. And the 6 is just really a nothing card. But, there's no need to be like really scared of really good players. Yes, really good players are gonna probably play better than you. And you're probably gonna lose EV to them, lose money to them. But the main focus in terms of finding a good game should always be finding players that you actively do want to play with, and then don't worry too much about the best players at the table. I've seen players run away from great games because there's like one player that they found scary, and it's like that there's not that much they can do. Just build a solid foundation of your game, and especially if you're not super deep stacked. If you're super deep stacked, it can be a little harder, but even then, it's like just focus on finding the players you really actively do want to play with, and don't worry so much about the other players. Right? Because like you get to fold. I mean, a 3-handed game with a world-class player and a loose player, like that could be a little tougher. But like 5-handed, 6-handed game, full ring table, forget it. Just find someone you want to play with. Let's see. We have, all right. We still have this hand, and then I will respond to the chat. What's going on here? All right, we're folding. That's what's going on here. And this person posts under the gun cutoff. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that much, but either they're unfamiliar with the software or they really want a hand. All right, with 2 pairs on a PLO board, does it make you think quads are now more likely, or is this is the chance still too small to worry about much? In terms of someone having quads or not quads, it depends on the action, right? Like, I think if there's been a lot of action, and like, is it likely somebody flopped a set, right? Are there, which cards are paired? Is it 3-3 deuce deuce, or is it ace ace king king in a 3-bet pot? The context matters. I think it's easy to worry too much about quads, but always pay attention to context and there are spots where you should be very worried about quads. But for instance, if I'm value betting a flush on the river on a double paired board and then I get raised, now I'm pretty worried about quads. Whereas if it's gone just like check, 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 whatever, I'm not that worried about quads until someone's like, oh, by the way, I really like my hands. Now I'm worried about quads. Ace King on this board, there's all the straight stuff. Well, there's the one straight, Queen 10, but there's also potential straight draws. There's not a lot of great straight draws here, really, right? I mean, 10-8 is the only open-ender, and it's not to the nuts. The only wrap two nutty things would already have a Queen 10 and an ace. So, besides that, there's really just gut shots. I am going to just check fold, though, as I have top pair, top kicker, but there's already a straight possibility. I have two useless cards at this point in my hand, the 5 and the 3, and there's not really anywhere to go. I don't have, the backdoor hearts or anything. All right, so ace, queen, queen, jack. I'm definitely going to raise this up from the button. Even though it's rainbow, we don't play a lot of rainbow hands, but when it's 4 Broadway cards, we're usually going to play it, I believe. That's kind of my sort of the heuristic, mnemonic. Okay, so I only have one pair, but the good thing about this pair is that I also have a second pair that I can't play with the pair. I have queens, but the jack is blocking, top set, top 2 pair. The downside is that now it's harder for them to have, top pair, which I could get value from with my queens. And with the stack to pot ratio, it might have been good. Let's move on to this hand. I believe I'm going to flat with a lot of my single suited kings in this situation. I am suited to a king. I've got a queen to go with it. The 7's just a garbage card there. So I'm basically playing a 3-card hand. I get technically 3-bet, or the razor gets 3-bet by the player behind me. The annoying thing is that then this happens. If it had been flatted, I would have a very simple call. However, here, kings are among the worst hands to have in this spot, I think, because I'm going to run into aces a fair amount of the time, and my equity is crap against aces. The ace-king 6-5 looks pretty good, but doesn't win. And technically, 5s and 3s are the winning hand, which is, hilarious. We had aces, kings, and ace-king, and it ended up being 5-3 that technically won the hand. Of course, the aces were also good, but I'll tag that and take a look at that pre-flop. I'm pretty confident that's going to be a pre-flop flat, and that's a spot where, the open raiser is going to have aces a fair portion of the time. We're deep enough that if I, flat with kings and I flop a set, maybe I'll be able to stack them. I also had some other ways of winning the hand. Also, my kings can be good. I don't want to assume that they only have aces in their raising range just because I've only seen them raise one time, and now that's only been with aces. It doesn't mean that's the only thing they can raise. It's just the only thing we've seen them raise. All right. Water break. So, I'm looking for a little bit of feedback on the format in terms of, in this session, I think I'm going to play about 45 minutes and then do my session review and take notes during the session review. However, the notes are going to be in the software and you're going to be able to see the notes. I'd like some feedback in terms of how that feels. Like, does it feel very slow and boring? Does it feel helpful? I'm kind of trying to model good review behavior. So just kind of be like, this is how I do it. This is actually how I do my session review. And so hopefully as a result, that makes it easy for people. This is an easy hand to overvalue, I think. Easy for people to sort of then do session reviews the same way or similar way themselves, or get some ideas for like, oh, I can take notes on the hands right in the HUD, or right in the can I take notes on the hands right here? I think I can, right? I think I can just go view hand history and then options. I'm not sure. All right. Maybe that's not what we'll do right now, but that would be good. We should be able to do that. We should definitely be able to, yeah. We should be able to do that. That would be excellent. This player has open limped the low jack, and we're gonna fold. But yeah, basically just, the idea of these sessions is here I am playing a one tabling session. Yes, usually I'll play more than one table. Although when I'm learning a game, I like to spend a fair portion of time anyway, single tabling, really zoning in and kind of never feeling like a heavy amount of time pressure, having time to think things through. Doesn't take a lot of thought, though, to recognize that Queen 6-5 Tray Rainbow is the garbage. Not even a very good Badoogie either, a Badoogie to the Queen. But I'd probably say Badoogie more than most PLO streams. I think that's got to be a fact. But yeah, just, there's a little bit of a balance between trying to do something that's entertaining and informative, but also is a realistic depiction of kind of like how I play my sessions and how I do my session review. So as always, I mean, I'm always open to feedback, but I'm particularly trying to figure out whether the format of like taking notes on screen while doing the review is like slow and boring to people, and maybe the sample size will be like one or two people having a comment, and might not be representative of the entire population. But sometimes a few opinions have more value than none. So it feels like to me, well, we'll get back to that. Let's come back to the hands. I believe there was a raise pre-flop, and then, this board, the flop would have been pretty good for the pre-flop raiser. If they didn't bet the flop, I think they're gonna, I gotta get one of those night bots or something that likes to, let's see. This person, no. Ban. Okay. It's always fun when you're like, oh, there's chat, but it's, okay. How do I get away from that thing? There's a bunch of spam in the chat box. Don't click the links. They're probably, toxic or whatever. All right, I guess I'll just refresh. Ace, Queen, 10, 4. I'm not suited to the ace, so this hand is not that great. If I were suited to the ace, I'm not sure whether I would flat this hand or want to maybe 3-bet it or fold it. So I think that's a bit of an interesting question. I'm going to tag the hand in progress for pre-flop. Even though I think this is a clear fold with this exact combo, it makes me think, well, with a similar combo, what would I do? Oh, no. Okay, so I lost the opportunity to delete the thing from chat. Is that right? Do I have to go somewhere else? I don't know. I don't really want to just leave the spam there. So let's see. Let's mute. Okay, and then yeah. Oh well. Oh well. I guess one got through. All right. Don't click the spammy link. There. All right. Oh, and then I would like to ban that person too. So, yeah, I got to get one of these chat bots that I think automatically, maybe it stops people from posting links too, and then I can give permission to someone to post links. Got a little distracted from that other hand where I think somebody just... What? Oh, this is still... No. That was a different one, right? So ace, king, queen. Was that the pre-flop raiser? Yeah, so somebody raised pre-flop. They flopped top pair. They turned top two. They put a little bit of money out there. This would be a pretty interesting hand if I had it. I'd have top two pair, and I'd be blocking the nut flush. So, I would think that my opponent's range would basically mostly be smaller flushes, and then they can also maybe have some sets. Probably not top sets, but, yeah. All right, we will play, I think, about 2 more orbits, let's say, and then get into a little bit of review. If anybody chatted anything in the last few minutes, like after the things, I missed it. Sorry. It I tried to refresh the thing. I don't know. There's sometimes some kind of buggy things, I guess, that maybe I need to figure those out. Like when someone chats something and then I ban them, then I don't know how to unhighlight them. Like it just covers up the whole chat box. It's very annoying. Maybe I need to maximize the thing. All right, back to the Pot Limit Omaha. Again, this is a hand that it starts to look nice, and it's like, I'm not suited to the ace. If I'm suited to the ace, I think it's pretty clear open. Having an ace and a good Broadway card, like a queen, and then the queen connects to the 9, and the 9 connects to the 7, and I don't think any of those make anything else redundant, right? I mean, 10, 8, 10 jack, like the queen makes the straight and the 9-7, but the 9-7 make a bunch of other nut straights, so I think basically every straight that can be made by this hand is the nuts, right? You can make a 9 high straight, you can make a 10 high straight. You can't make a jack high straight because then you'd have a queen high straight, and you can't make a king high straight because then you have an ace high straight. So I think that hand has a decent structure. Not fantastic, but decent. It makes a lot of nuts, and if it had the suited ace, it would have been a good hand to play. Double suited 5s against fairly loose player. I'm going to call because they're loose and treat this more kind of like they'd open the button or the cutoff, right? We can get these very dogmatic ideas about like, oh, this is my defense range against the cutoff. This is my defense range against the button. This is my defense range against, the hijack. And if our opponents are playing optimally, sure, that's good, that's correct. But our opponents are not playing optimally. Our opponents are humans, hopefully. I guess they could be bots, but assuming our opponents are human, they're going to make mistakes and they're going to have their own tendencies. And if their tendencies are opening a button range in the hijack, then when they open the hijack, we should play our defense range against the button range. Because really, we should have a defense range against each different opening percentage, right? And that's something that we can refine and calculate, and I'd say, eventually play more that way. I'm going to, at the moment, mostly just have defense against button, defense against cutoff, yada, yada, yada. These are the things on the charts. All right, so not a fantastic suited jacks, but, single suited jacks with a queen. The queen's good. The 7's garbage because it's triple gapped with the queen at the top. So the 7 just doesn't do anything. Not to mention, it also inhibits our play because, our equity, right? Because we have an extra, we're blocking our own flush. For that reason, I'm going to go ahead and fold this. If you made the queen like an offsuit 8, I would have called that 3-bet. And I think this is a hand that I overvalue. Single suited 8 high rundown. I think if it's double suited, I play it. And on the button, okay. Thanks. Cool. So it looks like there probably weren't any message after the spam, so that's good. Yeah, so this sort of hand, I will double check this because this is I'm confident that I fold this exact hand, but a lot of times when we learn a particular thing, if we can then like immediately review it, reinforce it, some kind of spaced repetition where we're doing it the next day. Really what I should do is I should go back and rewatch all of my review sessions the next day. Maybe that'll be my new habit. My new habit is going to be about making YouTube videos, but force review as well. Okay, so now I have some ideas. I will, as I start to implement them, let you all know. I don't know why I did like the Jedi mind trick thing. Okay, so I flop a king high flush draw, a lot of backdoor stuff. I'm going to half pot it. Even though I'm not blocking any board cards, I would much rather have a pair here of some sort. But this is a fairly easy board for my opponent to miss. I am blocking hearts. They put in a sizable raise. I'm only drawing to the second nuts. I'm out of position. Maybe I should have just checked range here. I did feel like they were going to bet so often and like pot it or 3/4 pot it that I really didn't want that. I wanted a cheaper, turn, and you saw how that worked out. So that's what happens when you're too cheap, sometimes. All right, ace, king, jack, jack, double suited. This is absolutely a hand that I'm going to raise and re-raise. And being double suited, I think, you know, and with the ace and the king, okay. So we have a fairly tight player who has just cold 3-bet. I'm in the big blind. I think generally this is probably going to be a 4-betting hand. The only question is, let's just do it and not take forever. Does this player have like too strong a range to where this is bad? And the answer is no, they do not have too strong a range to where this is bad. They apparently don't have that strong a range at all. So this 14-7, those stats suggest, ooh, they're pretty tight. I should think about this. But it's over 14 hands, right? So 14 hands, 14-7 says, yeah, they're not a super loose player. We know that conclusively. They're clearly not playing 100% of their hands. I'm going to fold this. The 8's probably just a little too low, and we'll mark this one too. But did I mark the last one? We got to mark that other one, clearly. I guess for pre-flop, since there was no post-flop. But yeah, 14-7 over 14 hands tells us conclusively they are not playing all or most of their hands, right? So they're a tight-ish player. But they could be, you know, 27-20 like this person over here, number 2. Those 2 players could be playing exactly the same strategies, and they've just gotten dealt different hands. So over that kind of sample, we can't get that granular with like how a player plays. We can't get like super specific. We can already tell like these stats have gone to 2013 from 14-11, right? Because they played another hand and they played it aggressively. But what we can do is we can rule out some possibilities. Just like with this 27-20, we can say they're probably not only playing 4% of their hands pre-flop, right? They're probably playing anywhere from like 15 to 40%. That's the ballpark, right? So, you know, depending on the number of hands, basically we need a margin for error. If somebody's played 100% of their one hand, then like we know their VPIP's not 0, and that's about all we know. But if they've played 0% of their one hand, then we know it's not 100, but that's about all we know. Whereas if they played 0% of 100 hands, we don't know their VPIP's going to be 0, but we know it's not going to be 50 either. It might not even be as high as 10, right? It's going to be the more hands we have, the kind of narrower, the closer, the more confidence we can have that those numbers that we have are actually accurate. So we had some data, but it was a small sample size and we didn't want to overreact. And my hand was like really pretty. Let's face it, like it was really pretty, right? Nice little green-blue deck there. I don't know. It felt like a Magic hand. I guess all of these cards look a little bit like Magic cards. I don't have a lot of Magic the Gathering references in my poker stream, but I did play it in high school, and I did sell a Black Lotus to a world champion, so, you know. Yeah. Okay, I don't know. That's not going anywhere. King, Queen, 10-8, pretty good hand. Top pair, gut shot, second gut shot, right? A jack or a 7 make me the nuts. Any diamond makes me, I think I'm going to bet slightly larger than half pot. Any diamond makes me the second nuts. Not any jack or any 7, I'm sorry. A jack or a 7 not of diamonds make me the nuts. And any diamond except for the ace of diamonds or the 9 of diamonds would have made me the second nuts. Now, if they lead out here, they're suggesting that they have a straight. They're like, yeah, I made a straight, right? But I've still got, I think my diamonds are live here fairly often because of how passively they played it. I also have king 8, so if I hit a king or an 8, I have a boat. Also, a jack is still going to be a straight, and a 7 I'm going to feel much less comfortable in. So even facing this pot size bet, I think I can call. Now, the 8's a brilliant card on the river because it's very sneaky, right? And I think I'm facing a straight, and I think there's not too much reason for them to necessarily think I have to have a boat here. There's diamond draws that missed. So I'm going to half pot it and try and get called by a hand like 10-7. This type of player who's been, so far they seem to have been kind of reasonable. I don't think they're going to call a lot there. I could theoretically try even smaller bet sizes, or I could just pot it and be like, what? But, you know, I had one of the smaller boats that were possible, but it was so unlikely for them to have a boat. Now I have a gut shot. A jack makes me straight two ways, and if it's not the jack of spades, it'll be the nuts. But, you know, I have one spade blocker. I don't have any pairs. If I had a pair, I might go ahead and c-bet here. But three ways, out of position to the one player. I think folding is the course of action. Now, there's two flush draws on board. I have neither. I'm only blocking one of them. I have a pair of eights, but now Jack 10 is the nuts. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold. So now we're here in the session review. I am going to use the PLO matrix to review whether to play, you know, all of my pre-flop play, and then post-flop play, I'm gonna have to kind of eyeball it, right? So there was a question, I believe it was on the sixes, right? That's gonna be towards the end of this review. Again, any feedback on the format here, I'm going to take some notes. I might not do quite as detailed as I would if I were doing a session review just by myself, but I will try to extract data from the matrix and then put it here in the hands, and then eventually I can actually compile these hands and turn it into something like a book, sort of like I don't know, some kind of like organic Pot Limit Omaha study, whatever. Okay, so we have a raise and a cold call, and I folded. So this is a spot that I can look up as small blind squeeze versus cutoff, right? The cutoff raised, the big blind, the button cold called, and now I have the opportunity to squeeze it in the small blind. And we'll take a look at king queen double suited combos, and this is close, right? So king queen jack 9, basically any combination of jack 10 9, any two of those cards along with king queen double suited, it wants me to 3-bet and then call a 4-bet. So I'm going to make a note of that, but this hand is a fold, right? So king, queen, jack 8, double suited is a fold versus cutoff RFI and button cold call. 3-bet and call with king, queen plus jack 10 9 double suited. So this is sort of the way I make these notes to myself. This, you know, the jack 10 9 in parentheses means jack 10, jack 9, or 10 9, right? 2 cards out of that 3-card region. So I will be able to read this later and go, oh, okay, that's right. So I won't have to look it up again, right? I will have the information here in my poker tracker, and I can just go and review hands and look at the notes and kind of study, review that way, right? This is the review from the session, but then I can review the review in order to kind of like, you know, studying what you studied before to make sure that you remember it, or studying what I studied before to make sure that I remember it. And not much more to this hand. We'll proceed to the next one. And if there's, for your review, king, queen, 8, 10, what would have been a danger sign that someone else had a set and now a bigger boat? Oh, so did I mark that one? I did not mark that one. I will go mark that one. And let's see. We have a request. I will king, queen, 10, 8. I'll do that one first. Let's see. I mean, oh, I can just replay hand. I don't have to actually mark it. Okay. I will bring this one up, and we'll talk about this hand. Thank you for asking questions in the chat. It is fun and interactive, and I think it helps all of us learn. So it helps me learn, it helps you learn, and I'm sure it helps the audience learn as well. A lot of times when somebody in the audience has a question, there's like 5 other people in the audience who have that question. Of course, that would require 6 people in the audience, which, you know, On YouTube, they don't know that there's only like 4 viewers at the moment. But, you know, over time, there will be a lot of, there can be people on YouTube also. So questions are good. All right, so the question was, what would have been a danger sign that someone else had a set and now made a bigger bet, bigger boat, right? Okay, so let's pay attention to what happens in this hand. I raise the button and I get flatted. So, my opponent's going to have a bunch of connecty stuff. They're going to have some double suited stuff, and they're going to have some big pairs that probably aren't like ace-ace, right? Because that's usually going to 3-bet. Probably not going to have like double suited queens or jacks, but they might. So here comes the board. They check, I bet, and they call. They can have a set here. They could have a set of kings, except I think, first of all, I have a king. Second of all, they didn't 3-bet pre. And third, I think they're usually going to check raise a set of kings here. If we, the stack to pot ratio is fairly deep, so a set like 9s or 6s might want to just call. Especially if they had some other stuff going on. I don't know. Although maybe they'd be more likely to raise if they had some other stuff going on. But when somebody check calls here after flatting pre-flop, I think their range has a lot of draws in it, right? And now the straight got there on the turn. This is an important point. The straight got there on the turn and they let out. And I had a lot of potential outs, right? A jack, a diamond, a king, an 8. A 7, maybe. A 7, if they check the river, then I'm probably at, getting half. But here when they lead out, I think they almost always have a 10 and a 7 in their hand. They don't literally always have a 10 and a 7 in their hand, but I think they very, very often do. Sometimes it could be 7-5, although from their flop action and this turn action, I think they usually have a 10 and a 7, and they're, they could have 9-9 or king-king with it, but it's fairly unlikely. They could also have 6-6. So on the river, if they bet 48 here, if they potted it here, it would give me pause, right? I would be like, oh no, do they have 10, 9, 9, 7, right? That would feel very possible. But they could also have 10, 9, 8, 7. That would certainly be another possibility. So if they potted it, I think I'd probably call. I definitely wouldn't raise. I don't see what I'd be trying to get value from. But when they check, at this point, I'm just like, they probably turned the straight, and I'm trying to get value from it. Maybe this is a little thin, but also if we think what kind of set would they have? Well, they could have 6-6, and I'm beating that, actually. They could have 9-9. I'm not beating that. I don't think that's going to put in a raise here. When they check, and I bet if they raised, that would be a sign that maybe they had a bigger set. A bigger boat, but at the same time, it would be a little confusing because basically all the action leading up to this spot just screamed, I flopped a draw, I turned the nuts, and now I don't really like the river, right? And given that they probably turned the nuts with a 10 and a 7, there's only 2 more cards left in their hand. They'd have to be exactly 9-9 or king-king for them to beat me. So the fact that I actually have the third nuts here also helps a lot in terms of putting that value bet out there. I hope that was, I'm going to actually, yeah, did I mark this? I did mark it. I hope that's clear and helpful. So yeah, basically just those factors, that kind of action. All right, so now I have ace, king, jack, jack, double suited, and we get a limp and a raise and a 3-bet. So the first thing I'm going to look up is how do I play this against a button raise and a small blind 3-bet? And maybe I should play it a little tighter than that because there was already a limper. I could also look at how do I play against a cutoff raise and then a 4-bet. There is a further question. Does the fact that opponent was in big blind make their flat any less significant? I don't think so. I think the fact that they have, I think they're still gonna 3-bet. They might have a little bit wider, weirder range than they might if they were flatting on the button. But I think overall it's, basically there's a range that the fact that they flatted means that they probably don't have ace-ace, and then it's less likely they have king-king, I think. So yeah, a 9-9 was a very real possibility, but the way they played the hand, I think, suggested it was quite unlikely on the river. Okay, so here I want to look up in the matrix. There's not this exact scenario like with a limper, right? Because the matrix doesn't have limpers. But first I'll look at big blind versus small blind 3-bet on a button raise. And I'll look at double suited jacks and jack, jack, ace, king double suited is a raise and a call. So is raise, call from big blind versus small blind 3 and button raise first in, right? So this is basically what happened. It's in fact any suited ace with jack jack is played this way, as are typos. 10 jack jack 9 jack jack 8 jack jack 10 This is maybe excessive. So all of those hands double suited, we are going to basically, what we're going to do with them is we're going to 4-bet and just get it in, right? With 100 blind stacks, call means if they jam, you know, we're not raise folding anything here, right? There's no bluffing range. We're putting in half our stack. So if they jam over the top, we're gonna need less than 25% equity. And anything that we want to put this raise in with, I mean, I think maybe I should verify that assertion. How would I go about doing that? I don't know if I can totally do that, but I'll look at ace king double suit. Yeah, it looks, I'm just gonna look at a few charts and not make an assumption that's definitely true. Yeah, ace king single suited, nothing. So we basically have only like double suited combos that we're like jamming with here. Yeah, so basically I'm comfortable saying before the flop I'm making a decision. Am I gonna put all the chips in or not? Right? And so here this hand we're gonna raise call from the big blinds in this spot, and we're gonna decide to get it in. And in fact, if we had like ace deuce suited with pocket jacks, sorry, not ace deuce suited, we had ace jack, jack deuce double suited, so we have to be suited to an ace. We can't not be suited to the ace if we're double suited, right? That's how it works. Every card in our hand is suited to something else. So any ace with jack jack and a fourth card double suited is a hand that we rip it here. So I think that's useful information. And I don't think that this limper is going to make a big enough difference. In fact, the limper actually means that we get even closer to getting all the chips in pre, which if anything, I think probably is helpful. The Ethical Panda says it was helpful. Thanks. Excellent. I'm glad. Yeah, I enjoy the interaction, and I appreciate the comments, and I kind of want to be able to do the review without delay. So I'm going to investigate ways I can go about that, but I don't want to do the session without delay. So it's a little bit of a sticky wicket, if you will. Okay, so then the rest of this hand is just like whatever they call. They weren't even, they didn't even have a full stack, but even with a full stack, we still should be happy to get it in there. And now we know. And knowing is half of the battle, and the other half of the battle is red and blue lasers. All right, so as we see, our hand was actually very good against their hand. Now that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but just for funsies, we'll launch the equity calculator and take a look at what our pre-flop equity was. We'll just run it, because I think sometimes seeing like how good your equity might be. Yeah, we've got 2/3, they've got 1/3, so we're gonna win the pot 2/3 of the time, right? 66.69 equity. Nice. Okay, we'll move on to the next hand. Now, first yeah, they got to ship us the pot. Then we can move on to the next hand. We don't want to leave the pot there, just sitting there in the reviewer. All right, 7-8-5-4. I folded this hand. I want to verify that this is a clear fold. I believe it is. I mean, I'm confident that it is. 8-7-5-4 single suited. Yes, clear fold. But 8-7-6-5 is a play. So 8-7-5-4 single suited is a clear fold, but 8-7-6-5 double suited is a raise call from cutoff. And now I will also look up the same rank of hands, basically double suited, and see that it is an open raise call from the cutoff. So 8-7-5-4 double suited is RFI from cutoff, as are 8-7-6-4 and 8-7-6-5. Double suited. I put a period because I like to proofread things. Okay, so that's an important detail, right? So looking at this hand, we should see it and be like, this is close, but it's a fold, because we either need the perfect rundown single suited, and it doesn't even matter if it's suited to the 8 or the 5 or the 6 or the 7. We either need the perfect rundown single suited or a hand like this double suited. And we'll proceed to the next hand. Except I wanted to see one thing. Okay, so 8-6-5-4 is also, we're going to add that in just for thoroughness, right? So 8-6-5-4 single suited is also RFI from cutoff if suited to the 8. So that's just a little bit more of a detail where, for me, I think learning the spots that are sort of adjacent to the spot I'm looking at helps me remember the spot I'm looking at, but also provides a lot more value. Instead of learning how to play this one hand, we've learned how to play about 10 hands right now, right? So we can get a lot of value from this single hand. And we have a bunch of hands, though, so I don't want to take too long with them. Suited 5s, so double suited 5s in the big blind against a hijack. First, I'll look that up. So big blind versus MP is how it's described. Double suited 5s. I believe this is probably going to be a fold, and it's a clear fold. Okay, so we'll say queen 8-5-5 double suited is clear fold. Like, it just folds tons of stuff versus hijack RFI. We'll say in big blind. And then we'll test our second assertion, which is I was thinking I'm probably going to play like a button range against this player, because look at how loose they are. Now, this was a fewer stats. I think we'd seen a lot more hands from them. And it's possible that I'm overestimating the breadth of their hijack range. But I don't think they're going to be that positionally sensitive. And I think they're not going to have, like, the clear hierarchy of, you know, opening the hands they're supposed to be opening. So if I can play this against a button, I think against this player, I can play it. It's also a clear fold against a button RFI. Okay, so this was almost certainly a bad call pre-flop. The only 5-5 double suited we play is with a suited ace or a second smaller pair. So we do 3-bet. Yeah, wow. We actually 3-bet call all the double suited 5s. 5-5-4-4 minus is 5-5-5-4 3-3-2-2 double suited is a 3-bet call from big blind versus button RFI. But I think we just fold all of these against the hijack RFI. So this was too loose. This was a mistake. And the flop was terrible, and I checked and I folded. So it didn't get us in too much trouble. But I definitely overvalued that particular hand. All right, so we'll proceed. And again, any feedback on this kind of note-taking in line with the review session would be useful. I'm not sure how I feel about it at the moment. But I kind of like it, but it feels like maybe I should type really fast because maybe I don't know if you can read it. Like if you're on a cell phone or something, I'm sure you can. If you're on like a 30-inch monitor, it's probably pretty legible if you've got the window maximized. Okay, ace queen 10-4 with one suit not to the ace. This isn't. I wasn't wondering, is this hand the one I want to play? I was thinking this type of hand. If I'm the button versus, squeeze versus the low jack, what hands like this am I playing? First, I'm going to look at ace queen single suited and see basically I need, so not this, right? Ace Queen, what is it? Ace Queen 10 4 single suited is a fold versus low jack. Let's see, how do we express this one? On button versus low jack RFI and whatever cold call. Only cold call with ace queen single suited with two well connected cards like jack 10, jack 8, 10 8, and all the hands better, and 5 4, period. Okay, so I think that gives me a good idea of this exact hand. Oh, and those would be always suited to the ace, right? If we're not suited to the ace, we're not messing around with it at all. And I want to look at ace queen double suited. So ace queen double suited, this combo, ace queen 10 4 double suited is cold call on button versus low jack RFI and cutoff cold call. So if I have the double suit, whether it's the good double suit or the bad, whether I'm suited, like if the ace and the queen are suited and then I only have a 10 high draw, those I am going to call. And 3-bet with same double suited hands that cold call if single suited. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So the hands that I wanted to flat with before, basically ace queen jack 10, ace queen jack 8, ace queen 5 4, those ones are going to be 3-bets, and they're all going to be call except for with the 8, but I'm not going to get too granular with that. 3-bet and call 4-bet with sync. Okay, so basically particular hands I'm either going to flat single suited or I'm going to 3-bet double suited, and then a bunch of other hands I'm going to cold call. Cold call lots of ace queen XX double suited, if third Broadway card, or decent connectors or side cards. Okay, I think that pretty much does it for that hand. And we'll move on to the next one. I folded this, right? So we go to the next hand. King, king, queen 7. There's a raise and I flat. And then there's another raise. And then they, basically decide, let's get all the chips in. So let's take a look at what do I do with king, king. So this is cutoff versus MP, or cutoff versus hijack. King, king, single suited, does a lot of calling. This is actually a fold, right? So against this particular player, I don't totally hate a call, but so yeah, king, king, single suited in cutoff needs a little extra help to let's see, needs 2 other connected cards to cold call. Suited ace to go with KK equals 3-bet fold. So basically, if I had, ace, king, king, 7 with a suit, I would 3-bet, and then if I got 4-bet, I would actually fold. So I think this helps a little bit. So I'd say king, king, like queen 9 single suited, king, king, jack 7 single suited, king, king, 5 3 single suited. These are cold calls in this spot. Okay. So there I've learned something from that hand, and I don't think we need to really play through the whole hand. We'll move on. King 6 4 deuce. I was just pondering, do I want to open raise this on the button? And I think the answer is no. That's my intuitive sense, but I think it's probably kind of close because it is double suited. So we're going to look at king 6, and this actually, no, no, because of the deuce. Okay, so king 6 for deuce, double suited, is close to button RFI, but is in fact a fold. King 6 suited with, 5-4, 5-3, 5-2, 4-3 are RFI from button. Okay, and it actually doesn't even matter how we're suited, right? Because basically, no matter what, if we're double suited, we're suited to the king. And then, do we have a 6 high flush draw or a 4 high flush draw to go with it? Not the biggest issue in the world. So that's, good suit, bad suit isn't a big issue here. Okay, so this was a correct fold, but I also correctly identified this hand is close, but it was on the folding margin because of the deuce. Deuces are very bad cards. All right, so I raised this from the low jack. Let's just take a look at the low jack. One other option that I have for the post-flop reviews, if people find all of the pre-flop a little bit too much pre-flop, I'm not going to continue focusing on pre-flop all the time. I think about a month of really pretty, doing a lot of pre-flop work. I think then it should be more little tune-ups from there. But I could front load kind of the hands that are a little more interesting, that have post-flop discussion, and then get back to these pre-flop considerations, towards the end of the review session. Mostly I'm just reviewing the hands in reverse order right now. All right, so here, ace, queen, 10-7. Ace, queen, 10-7, good suit is a raise call, and bad suit is raise fold. So, yeah, so this is low jack. This is button RFI still. That was, strike that. Let that be stricken from the record. We're looking at the wrong chart. Always double check. Okay, I'm looking at a thing. Is this it? Okay, yes. Under the gun. Ace, queen, single suited. Cool, that's right. This hand is actually a raise fold, no matter how it's suited, right? So I'm just going to put that down. We have ace, queen, 10-7, single suit, RFI, good suit, or bad suit from low jack, fold to 3-bet. That's it. As simple as that. However, we are going to have some more action here. We do get 3-bet, which we would fold to, and I was inclined to fold to this 3-bet until this happened, right? All of a sudden, everybody came along. And yes, when you have more people in the pot, you require more, you don't require as much equity, but you're going to lose substantial equity, right? But at the same time, the pot odds are so good, and look at these players. They're all these kind of loosey-goosey players as far as we can tell so far. So it feels like this might be a good opportunity to realize our equity. Not to mention the fact that if we look here, the stack to pot ratio is about 1-to-1, except for this player has no money left to bet, right? The small blind, that's just irrelevant. If we have anything, we'd get it in against them. And the other two players, again, if we have anything, we might have to go with it. Now here we flop anything, right? We have top pair, second kicker, a blocker to the flush draw. I thought about jamming here. I don't really like a smaller bet because I kind of just want spades to just go away, or to decide on the flop. Actually, spades can probably call. If they have nut spades, they can just be yeah, whatever, let's go. And they're getting approximately the correct odds. So I checked it. Also, the button can have ace, 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 king. If they're super excited about it and other people are super excited about it, I'm probably just going to let this one go. But now that everybody's checked, the two people most likely to have a 3 have now also checked the flop, the turn rather, when the 3 pairs. So I think this is a spot where yeah, let's just rip it. And if you've got it, good. If you don't, okay. And if you have a flush draw, you're not getting the price. But some of these players might want to gamble on that, and that's fine. I invite them to my casino. And if this person has ace king behind me, they might fold it. It's possible. So I'm not really value betting here so much as I'm denying equity and thinking I have a lot of equity, but I want 100% of the equity. I want them to just go, and I just take this now. And they do, and I do, and all is good. And they ship us the pot after taking $2.40 out of it. So much rake. All right. There's a limp and then a raise by me. So the first question is, do I open this hand in the low jack? As in general, I'm going to use a low jack raising range if I'm ISOing against the low jack, like from the hijack, right? So we'll look at single suited sixes. Single suited sixes. That's that could be a little harder to say, but okay. So single suited sixes with a suited A7, we're going to play. Now only good suit, right? So A7 6-6 single suited is RFI from low jack. With suited ace. This extra spade in our hand is bad, but I don't think it's a deal breaker. All ace X, let's see, 6-6 ace X single suited, suited, good suit. We'll say good suit is RFI except two. Deuce or tray. Also, double suited pairs, right? Or no, 6-6-5-5, 6-6-4-4, and 6-6-3-3 single suited. 6-6-2-2 single suited is a fold. All right, so there we basically learned how to play single suited sixes in the second position. No, the first position. So that's how we would play him from the low jack. We get, oh, was this hand it? No. So here we get a couple calls and we flop nothing and I check and they check. This board is like very easy for people to miss. So betting here sometimes can make some sense. I would like to have, some equity besides my pair of sixes or some blockers. But if I have blockers, I'm mostly going to have draws. So basically, I think I can bet here with like top set, some like aces with a flush draw, and some like wraps with a flush draw, stuff like that. Or I can just mostly check range in this multi-way kind of in-between position situation. And here, did I bet? No. Okay. This seems about correct. I just keep checking, and on the river, this player, I keep checking. I could try and bluff here, basically say, yeah, I've got queen, sure. But, like, I'm not blocking that much that's important. And, honestly, I might get a showdown and my a7 might be good. So they pot it, and, I'm out of here. So let's take a look back at the chat, see if, there is some chat. Okay. All right, here is some feedback for you from BuffyBot7. I like the note-taking. Very helpful. Re 1 versus 3 tables, I vote for 1. It's easier to follow the action, and more importantly, I can actually see it. Yeah, if you're streaming like on a smaller device, or watching on a smaller device, I'm sure one tabling, it has to be better, right? So I think overall I'm going to do some mix of the different things. It's very helpful to know that some people definitely prefer one table. Thank you for your feedback, and also read the note taking. I will certainly continue with the note taking. Probably try to make it a little more concise as I go on, yeah, I think that will happen. All right, where are we? All right, 3 more hands. Ace King 9-9, and there's a limp, and the question is, do I play this from the button? Do I play this from the cutoff? Let's look up the cutoff first, because if I do, then clearly I play it from the other position. I'm going to hazard a guess that I don't play this from... Oh, you know what? I think I'm wrong. I think I might be way off here. Yeah, okay. So from the cutoff, this is a raise. It's a raise fold, right? So rainbow, very few rainbow combinations that I'm going to play here. Rainbow, meaning, 4 different suits, is raise fold from cutoff. So I should raise here and I should fold. Only raise calls are 9-9, 8-8, 8-8 through 6-6, we'll say. And Jack 10, 9-9, rainbow in position, right? So if I were to raise the cutoff and get 3-bet by a blinds, I can flat that there. And other raise folds are ace, queen through 7, and king 10 with the 9-9. Okay, I think that's something that makes sense, right? So basically an ace with any card as low as a 7 to go with the pocket 9s, not a third 9, right? That's a terrible hand. Or like king 10 with 2 9s. And then jack 10, 9, 9 if I get 3-bet by the button. Those are all going to be raises and folds. And then if I have 9988, 9977, 9966, I'm going to raise and I'm going to call a 3-bet. Or if I have 9-9 jack 10 and it's one of the blinds that 3-bets. But I folded, so I made a note of this. So fold here is too tight. I don't know why I'm giving myself a smiley face. That's basically because I was very stern and I'm like, see, not that stern. Okay, moving on. And yeah, if there's any, I think in general, whenever there's hands in the review that there are quite further questions about, if I'm still streaming on a delay, I will note those questions and probably cycle back to them, certainly at the end of a given hand. I'll try and check chat maybe between each hand. Still developing the sort of streaming processes and habits, procedures. All right, 6-6, queen 3, right, with this queen 3 suited. It's like 2 medium hold'em hands. Well, one like medium and one like below medium. But they both strike, right? They hit it here. So I'm thinking I can lead out, and then if I get raised, I'm going to probably play pretty cautiously and kind of never know where I am in the hand. So instead I decide to check and check. And I was thinking I was going to check raise if they bet like half pot. But when they bet full pot, I went, I think top set and middle set are going to bet full pot here for sure. And if they have a draw, they probably have a pretty strong draw if they're potting it. Also, I can just go check, call maybe, and let them kind of bluff off if they have something that's less than any of what I was describing. So I decided to just call, and then the turn's a king, and I check and they check it back. Now, I want to contrast this hand with a hand earlier where I was fairly confident that they didn't have a set, and I felt comfortable betting my king 8 when it made a boat, right? The difference here is that they wanted to put chips in. They aggressively put chips in when there was not a straight on the board, and then they checked when there's a straight on the board. So to me, that says, sets a pretty likely possibility. Some kind of flush draw that maybe hit the king and now has a king or 2 pair. That's a pretty likely possibility, like king 9 of hearts with maybe like a queen and a 4 or something. That's a hand that could bet the pot, on the flop, and then be like, okay, now I have enough showdown value. This kind of check feels like either some draw that really doesn't want to get check raised by queen 10, or, and I mean, I guess a set, some kind of made hand, which also is a boat draw, right? Because it's probably 2 pair plus, that doesn't want to get check raised by queen 10. So this tells me they probably don't have the straight, but they, among the things they could have flopped, some of those beat me and some of those don't, right? So I decided to bet half pot here. Now, if I check, I imagine my opponent's going to bet with their jack-jack, and I'm probably going to call because I think my set's fairly under-repped. I think they probably don't have queen 10, and if they have a hand like king-jack maybe that they turned, maybe they had like ace, king, queen, jack, they limped pre-flop. So they probably have like some little dangler. Maybe they have king, queen, jack, 4 or something. I think they can maybe value bet that. I think they could also decide, okay, well, I wasn't going to bluff my ace-high flush draw on the turn because I thought maybe you turn the nuts. But now if I check again, they might be like, I'm pretty sure you don't, and then they bluff. So my spots are between like check calling and betting here. And the main reason I bet is I feel like if they have a hand like a king with hearts or king 9 or even king jack, they might check that back and I can get value by betting here. I think I'm usually good, but they can have a set, right? So if I were to get raised here, I would give it a bit of a think, like, what are you trying to say you have? This doesn't make a lot of sense, and I'd probably end up folding. Another reason I feel comfortable betting here is I also have a queen, right? So I think it's quite unlikely that they have a straight. They checked the turn with a flush draw out there, so I think they probably would have bet the straight, And my queen in my hand makes it even less likely they have that. And so while they definitely can have a set here, I think it's fairly likely possibility. I think that's probably less than half their range. And I think if I'm going to put in a bet, if I'm going to call, again, when they bet with a set on the river, I might as well. I think the money goes in better if I put it myself. Basically, because there's hands that they will call that they won't check with, There's hands that they will call a bet with that they wouldn't bet themselves. Like this, if they have a king and whatever, like 2 pair, I think it's gonna be hard for them to fold here. But they had a set, and they flopped a set and like the sort of the undergutter. So I think pretty reasonable hand by my opponent. If you're gonna overlimp hands, I don't think this is a terrible one either. I think it makes some sense. They probably could have raised pre-flop, but yeah, I think that hand it sort of illustrates a difference, between how you might want to play your your sets or potential boats on different straight runouts and whatever, and kind of how to read how likely someone is to have a set. And in this case, I think they were certainly more likely than they were in that other hand because of how they played, the flop, turn, and river, but mostly, the flop and the turn. All right, so last hand, 9-9-10-7, and there's a raise, and I decided to call this. Oh, I'm single suited. This I feel like this has to be fine, right? Big blind versus button. I have 9-9 single suited with a 10 and a 7. Yes, no, yes, clear call. Okay, so let's just look at what happened post flop. I just check fold, right? So we'll go back to pre flop. This is the decision point, and we're just going to note 9-9-10-7 single suited is very clear call. Pre-flop versus button RFI. 9-9 with any 9-9 single suited with any 2 decent side cards is a pre-flop call. Only 3-bet 9-9 single suited with medium suited ace, or no, with what do I call medium suited ace? With suited ace plus connector, a jack, 10, 8, 7. So those connect to the 9, right? So that's pretty good. Or 8, 8, 7, 7, 6, 6. All right, and only 3-bet call with 9-9, 8-8 single suited. So everything else there is a 3-bet fold. So that's where, a significant portion of our, not a significant portion, but some of our 3-bet fold range is going to come from, single suited 9s, apparently, with like a suited ace and something that connects to the 9s, or 9-9-7-7 and 9-9-6-6, right? Yep. Okay, cool. And then 9-9-8-8 single suited, we will 3-bet and fold to a or the 9-9-8-8 single suited that we will raise and actually call a 4-bet. One more thing to look at: this hand actually rainbow is still a cold call. So we'll add that 9-9-10-7 rainbow is still a defend, still a call versus button RFI, but is bottom of range. Okay, so 9-9-10-6 we don't call. 9-9-8-6 we don't call. 9-9-8-7 is as good as this, so that one we do call. All right, so I think that was a helpful note for myself anyway. Thanks for the feedback throughout the video. I'm going to wrap it up here. Yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching. If you got to the end of this video on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated and helps the channel grow. And starting this week, I'm going to actually start promoting and like putting work into the YouTube channel instead of just kind of lazily exporting the videos, which is my plan is basically just to kind of focus on one thing each week and then try and maintain that the next week while adding another thing. So the YouTube thing is like the 3rd week priority. The Twitch and the morning routine was week 1, and the evening routine, even if it was disrupted just that one time by podcasting on the Badcast Star Wars Universe podcast with the Ethical Panda, you know, it's that was the second week routine, and I think went fairly well. So again, thanks so much, and I will see you next time. Cheers.